Council, can you report on any action?
Yes. In closed session, the board took up item 4, gave direction to legal counsel, and item 3, and discussed and gave direction to legal counsel, general counsel, and general manager as to the cases shown on Exhibit A to the agenda, and also took up one item of potential litigation under item 1 in the agenda, and approved a settlement agreement by a vote of 4-0, 1 abstaining, which was Director Lansgard, with John D. Gibson of Gibson & Gibson. No other reportable action.
Do we need to report the vote for the item 3? Yeah, motion in a second.
Yep.
Okay, it brings us then to the open session, and I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary.
This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any items not on the agenda regarding the district's business. State law prohibits the district from taking any action on items not on the agenda unless authorized under 54954.2 sub B of the Government Code, and your matter may be referred to the general manager. An individual may also address the board on any agenda item at the time the matter is discussed and prior to board consideration or action. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Your time will start when you approach the podium, and you will be given a 30-second warning before your time expires. If you choose to ask a question during this time and a response by the board will not extend your time, questions may be referred to the general manager to be answered at a later time after the meeting. In order to allow for a smooth and orderly meeting and allow each speaker the ability to address the board, disruptions from the audience will not be tolerated, and you could be asked to leave. We appreciate your cooperation in this democratic process.
Okay. Any public comments at this time? Okay, we'll move to minutes. Approve November 17th, 2015 regular board meeting minutes. Do you have a motion?
I have a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Wallace, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Consent calendar. I'll now call the consent calendar. If there's anyone who'd like to speak, you can speak after I call it. We're going to talk about the cash balance, October 2015, information technology report, approval, check and voucher register, November 10th, 2015 to December 7th, 2015, adopt ordinance number 2015-1, an ordinance of the Rosamond Community Services District, amending ordinance number 92-6 for the limited purpose of establishing and amending certain district charges and fees. And then we have adopt ordinance number 2015-2, an ordinance of the Rosamond Community Service District adopting the model water efficiency landscape ordinance of the state of California. Item number 6, adopt ordinance 2015-4, adopting rules and regulations governing the distribution and the use of recycled water. Any public discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Wallace.
I'll second.
Mr. Singleton, second. Okay, any further board discussion?
Just briefly, CC4 and CC5, those incorporate the things that we talked about at the last meeting.
Correct. Correct.
We got the right county in there as far as.
Yep.
No other discussion, call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We need a roll call.
Roll call.
Excuse
Roll
me.
call.
We need a roll call because we've got ordinances.
All right.
Director Lansford,
Aye.
Director Schinkeldecker,
Aye.
Director Glennon,
Yes.
Vice President Wallace,
Yes.
President McKay.
Yes. 5-0. Okay, new business. And I'll call for new business 1, which is discuss for the nomination and appointment of Rosamond Community Service District's representative to the Edwards Air Force Base Restoration Activity Board, RAB, 2-year term. Turn it over to the general manager.
Yes, Mr. President. The 2-year term for the person that's currently on that advisory board is up. We decided, talking with Edwards Air Force Base's environmental section, that we're giving it to the board. If you'd like to open up for a public application, they can apply at they only have a Facebook and not a website, so it would be, I know, Facebook, no Twitter. Facebook / and that would be rab.edwards, and then that would give, they can go to the Facebook page and apply. The
That's the
RAB,
only way?
what's that?
That's the only way you can apply?
That's the only way you can get a hold of them. You can call them on the phone if you can track them down and
We'll probably need
have
to-
them mailed
Probably
up.
need to do that too, because not everybody has Facebook.
That's what I thought too. So, but I guess if you call our district, we can get you in touch with them. But the applications are taken by RAB. They're advertising it on Facebook also for you. And so you'll receive all the applications by January 19th. That will give you 2 weeks before the first February meeting to decide who you'd like to appoint nominee.
Any public discussion? Entertain a motion?
This is a discussion item,
Okay.
and so you can just give staff direction for us to proceed with the application process.
Just continue with your application process.
Yes, sir.
I'll call for new business number 2. Presentation of the State of California Groundwater Sustainability Agency formation. And our presenter will be the Director of Public Works, Rock Smith.
Thank you. I was asked by Ron Smith to research the Department of Water Resources 2014 Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. The 2014 Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, was established as a framework of the priorities and requirements to help local agencies sustainably manage groundwater within a basin or sub-basin. SGMA provides a basic minimum standard for outreach and notification regarding the formation of a groundwater sustainability agency, or a GSA. The SGMA applies to all 127 medium and high priority basins in California and requires the formation of a GSA in each of those basins. The SGMA requirements do not apply to the remaining 388 low and very low priority basins. The GSA is responsible for imposing fees or taking action to enforce a groundwater sustainability plan. Those plans provide the state groundwater elevation data, groundwater extraction data, surface water supply, total water use, change in groundwater storage, water budget, and sustainable yield for each basin. GSA formation is required by June 30th, 2017, and the sustainability plans are due by January 31st of 2022. In an adjudicated groundwater basin, the court-appointed water master is required to take the role of GSA. In the Antelope Valley Basin, it's a high priority basin, but it is listed as an adjudicated basin pending the final judgment. My recommendation is that the district has to take no further action regarding the GSA. Any questions?
One of the sessions that Director Glenn and I attended, I guess, but Director Glenn was reporting, it was a session regarding public trust doctrine. And we heard from people who didn't very much care for the public trust doctrine, which is something that what they used to finally get their hands on the Mono Lake and say we weren't control what goes on in Mono Lake. With the Roseburg court and there, and then of course the other guy they had, pro and con, indicated that basically the GSA is an acknowledgement of the public trust doctrine, and that by getting involved with the GSA, that's what you're doing. And I heard 2 different takes on whether someone should get involved in a groundwater basin that doesn't have, it's not a, you say there's 127 basins that actually are high.
127 medium high priority and then 388 low and very low priority.
Low and very low, and obviously the low and very low shouldn't have to be got into, but apparently, are they governed at all if someone takes a certain, if someone asserts that I want to be in control of that, is it possible that they could be controlled?
It's not required until the priority of that basin has changed. And and there's a 2-year grace period to apply.
I guess the question is not required though, is it possible that someone else could take over that basin?
No, it wouldn't be appointed. If somebody tried, in the case of Fremont Basin, which is the next basin to the north, if somebody tried, any interested party in that basin would be notified. A notice of intent would be posted, but it would have to be a local agency that covered that basin. So a local agency can only cover their service area.
Well, my understanding is that someone has applied for the Fremont Basin.
There's nothing listed on the site yet.
Is there something we can put in there, say, please notify us in case someone does, so we can speak up to it? Is there a way to do it? Because, for example, if you have an interest in real property, you can always say you got a judgment, file an abstract of judgment, someone tells you when they're going to do a foreclosure.
Yeah.
And then wonder if there's some sort of notification property that notification to us if we get listed there, say just let us know if something happens.
I don't think as Rosamond Community Services District, I don't think there's any way that we can be notified.
Okay.
William Fisher, which is a mutual water company in that district, we could show interest in joining a JPA. We could not enter or try to form as the GSA
Well, we
in that
want to do
district.
that, yeah. But the point is we probably don't want to have a GSA, it's being cost prohibitive for that.
So we would be notified if the priority changed. In that case, we would be notified before anybody could take the role.
Okay.
Let me just read from my report, it's a very short thing from that gives my viewpoint of what was said. All three attorneys gave some historical background concerning the development of the public trust doctrine and beneficial use doctrine. These issues have become judicial decisions instead of legislative decisions as they should be. Common law water rights with reasonable use standards have been suppressed. The government has become the sovereign over private property rights. That's what I took from the meeting. It's the judges who have made this, not the legislature.
Well, the legislature has, I think that's what the ground is talking about, is the legislature has now stepped in, but they're supposed to stay out of it unless someone wants to give them, I guess, be charged of it. As you know, for the Antelope Valley, you're gonna have a water master for the, I believe it's gonna be expensive to have a water master, and we're gonna do big expensive litigation to figure out how that's done. To do that for every little basin you do that, it's gonna be maybe not quite as expensive, but it's gonna be pretty expensive to do as well. So it's a good thing to stay out of it if you can.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Smith. Okay, we move to item new business number 3 is winter watering time of day restriction moratorium. A is adopt resolution number 2015-28, amending resolution number 2015-6, issuing a moratorium on the time of day restrictions during the winter months. Talk to Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board. Back when the board adopted and instituted stage 2 and stage 3, the agency adopted a very, very strict watering days and times, and that was twice a week for 25 minutes before 6 a.m. and after 6 p.m. And for some reason in the summer they made it a shorter one in the morning and evening. But in talking to the Water Resources Board and reading the legislation and the emergency ordinance that was produced by the Water Resources Control Board, which was their resolution 2015-0032, we are not under that onus. The only onus that we're under is that we meet our standard, which is 28%, and we're actually 32% savings. That those watering times and the days were for small water agencies that are not called urban water, and that's what we are. We're a larger agency, so we're an urban water supplier, and that's actually the wording that's in the law too, is an urban water supplier, because we pump a certain amount and we have so many connections. So they left it like that so that we could adapt to our environment and our climate and our soil and our area. We have to just meet that 28%. So what we have now, we have a lot of residents that are wanting to water their lawn, and And I think anybody knows that if you water your lawn before 6 a.m. here, this morning it was only 17 degrees, so you're making ice. And so this ordinance that you passed needs to be, if we're going to change it, it needs to be changed by an ordinance. But with resolution, we are trying to suspend the time of day use on that ordinance. So that way, during the wintertime, the people still have to water on the days of the week that it says in the ordinance, but now they can water anytime during the day. And wait, hopefully until it warms up a little bit.
And they're also subject to the duration
And they're
restrictions as well.
they're to the duration, everything else in the ordinance, they're subject to, but this resolution will just suspend the watering time during the day of the ordinance. What we'll be doing is staff will be bringing you to back a more comprehensive ordinance that goes over the summertime. You know, we've been talking with a number of you and also so water experts. You know, out here, as everybody knows, you have caliche soil, it's hot. You can't just water your lawn or water something for 25 minutes on a certain day, twice a week. A lot of things are dying, so you need to spread it out. There's intermittents, there's drippers, there's all these things. So we're going to put a more comprehensive one before spring gets here, and then that way we can amend the whole thing rather than just being this onerous 2 days a week, which we don't have to do. So staff would like you to adopt this resolution, and then the first thing we'll do is we'll put a notification in the next billing, explaining that to everybody that now they can, we'll put it up on the website and we'll try to get the newspaper and the media to sort of do a public notice so that people don't have to make ice cubes anymore. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for John?
Well done.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public?
Glad to hear this.
Pardon me?
Very glad to hear that at the time.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-28.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any further discussion by the board? Call for the vote. All those in favor, signify.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Okay.
Director Lansford,
Aye.
Director Schindler,
Yes.
Director Ryan,
Yes.
Vice President Wallace,
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Move to the items, director reports and comments and agenda items.
Well, as many as you know, we attended the Aqua Convention.
I go.
My first page is talking about what I'd like to see us focus on as a house united when it comes to water, sewer, and parks and recreation. Primarily the water, as you know, or don't know, the Antelope Valley groundwater adjudication, the judge made a ruling to uphold the stipulated settlement, which my understanding is at Rosamond is allocated 404 acre feet. We generally use 2,900 acre feet, so we're about 2,500 acre feet short. We really need to focus on a master plan that takes in effect and account everything, including where are we going to get the water, cost of alternative water from AVAC, water bank water, leased water, purchased water rights, new wells, to things as extensive as simplifying desalination to the extent that it's something that we can use to trade with. Where people have downstream water. We gotta look at all sources. We also look at funding, impact fees, connection fees, loans, and the worst kind of funding, but not the worst kind, but the most necessary sometimes assessments. Also underwater, I put down a tertiary permit for the State Department of Drinking Water. I know that's something we've been working on, but I'd like to see that stay on the front burner. We also need to find more users for the tertiary water. We need to talk to farmers and find out if they're interested in doing some farming. Because otherwise, that water might just continue to evaporate, even though we have the plant come online if we don't have those users immediately available. I'd also like to see us eliminate the floodplain tax. I was looking at the impact report prepared November 2014. It was a rough draft, but mentioned that there's a large percentage of Rosamond's in the floodplain. And if you have a home that has a loan on it that's guaranteed by the Veterans Affairs or by the FHA, and you're in the floodplain, you get the flood insurance. There's a way we can figure out how to control the stormwater so you don't have to pay flood insurance. And I think we need to look into that as well. There are some ideas. I know that Greg Fenton from the Kern County Flood Control Department will be here Thursday night at the RMAC meeting. I'd like to ask him some questions about it. If you have some questions about that, would be as well. At the Aqua Convention, I was able to talk to Dr. Tracy, Dr. Tracy with the United States Geological Service, and there's also Alan Christensen. Alan Christensen has been working on getting the city of Palmdale's Amargosa Creek recharge thing going. He's got a study for that, and of course Dr. Tracy's done one for the Low Animal Valley. So they have a model we can use, but I don't think the area line is it within that model. But still, they had some pretty good ideas on how to look into what it takes to do, to see if some areas are actually viable for recharge or viable for as a reservoir. And setting up a reservoir that catches, like I said, the Oak Creek water before it gets down into the reservoirs. That's the primary thing that would flood here if it came through, is the Oak Creek. If we could figure out a way to control those waters so they don't go there, I think we could probably make a great argument to get down the flood insurance. Parks and Recreation, we need to find funding to operate the West Park Pool without raising taxes, without raising assessments if we can. I'd like to have us send out an agenda item that talks about whether we can have an RFI for public-private partnership using existing West Park tax money. I'd like to see maybe perhaps a public-public partnership. What about an MOU with the Southern Unified School District? We need to get a master plan for parks that actually is a little more detailed so people know what they're going to buy into if they're asked to buy into parks. People who are interested, if you can get something for your money, then people tend to be more interested. And then the last thing that we need to focus on, I think, is the issuance of fair and reasonable terms to unconditional will serve letters. I think that I know that we haven't got that figured out yet because we haven't got the other three things I talked about master plan wise figured out yet, but we need to work really hard on that. And it deals a lot with planning. Those are my thoughts, and like I said, I don't know how we're going to go about putting those on calendar, but they need to come on the calendar on a regular basis. I'd like to see them on a regular basis, maybe a regular recurring item, that is master plan water, master plan sewer, master plan parks and recreation. I don't think it should ever come off the agenda, but that's my thoughts. And of course, again, I'd like to see you all there 2 nights from now at the RMAC meeting. We can have a discussion about storm water with Greg Fenton of the Kern County.
Mr. Shanoah, you don't have nothing. Mr. Dillon? No. Mr. Wallace?
I went to the ARPA convention. Some of it was good, some of it wasn't. And went to one class, they talked about water shortage, how long we're gonna have to do this. Went to another class, they talked about the energy, how it's changing everything. And they talked about, in general session, they talked update on water stuff, and they talked about, one I went to was a program of new developments in personal law. What you don't know can hurt you. And they said we need to get updated on that. That's basically our report today.
I attended the AVAC board meeting on December the 8th, and the general manager, Dan Flory, announced that AVAC would be receiving 10% for their allotted share from the state water project this coming year. And this allotment can be increased if the rain comes and the water increases. They can get an increase in their supply. Anyone else? Okay. General counsel update. Al?
Yeah, the governor recently signed SB 272, which establishes a new requirement under the government code with regard to a catalog of enterprise systems that we need to make publicly available on or before July 1, 2016, and I'll be working with staff to make sure we comply.
Enterprise systems like Star Trek?
Yes, our warp
Warp shields?
systems, yeah, our warp shields and our warp reactor will be part of that. No, it's, enterprise system is the, the software applications and computer system that collects, store, exchanges, and analyze information that the district uses that is a multi-departmental system or system that contains information collected about the public or a system of record. So it's defined in the code, and we'll make sure we get that which is required and nothing that would impact the privacy rights of our grade holders into that database. And nothing further.
Interim General Manager, Ronald Smith.
Yeah, the enterprise is not flying because we don't have any water to supply. Will serve letters. I'm glad to announce that we put together a program ever since you gave me the authority to go out there and look for water and see if we can get some water. We do have some of the bank, and you know, the dollar store has been chomping the bit to break ground. We have a contract already written up for them, and they're going to be paying $10,000, which will go towards our water banking purchases that we made, and we're going to supply them water for that project. So we're able to do that because we have enough that we can supply in perpetuity. We also have a private home that's been, you know, one single house that wants to be built, and we can do that from the water bank also. Basically, we're figuring that we can take, we have about 3,640, 3,600 and something like that, close to 3,600 acre-feet of water in there. So we decided that we could set aside 50 acre-feet for one project that needs an acre-foot a year. And so that way we can say, we can supply you for 50 years, and that's probably good enough to give them a will serve letter. We were hoping to put all our water back in the water bank too, so we have it even longer. So the single home is one that I don't mind doing it from, and Lorelei is going to be okay with that too. I've talked to her on the phone about most of this because it all has to go to them ultimately, so they pass the CUP. We have legacy homes that wants 94 homes. So right now I'm looking from a number of different individuals. You gave me the authority to go out there and look for water also, so we're talking to a number of companies and agencies that are getting water in the adjudication, and so I'm doing it as we go. I know there's a housing tract of 360 homes that would like to be built too. Also the apartments that needs 124 acre-feet, so all of them we're looking at purchasing water rights for them also, so we're going to be moving forward on that. Give you a little bit update, I think I've talked to most of you, besides the CIP, that this fiscal year, we're saving close to $1 million. We've changed the way we do business here on some aspects. The marketing, we're saving about $3,800 a month right now on the marketing and public relations. Also on employment, you know, we did a reorganization. It looks like we're saving, Brad, to about $9,000 if it continues by the end of the year. We changed the gas cards. We're saving money on that because we get 22 cents less a gallon by going through with that shoving card, and that's just a stopgap until we figure out how to maybe do it so we can buy it, like you guys said, at the fast track and get it the cheapest gas in town. There were some other things that were cut, and in landscaping, we saved close to $28,000 since September. And we're going to be saving more, and we're putting out a new RFP for the gardening and landscaping, and we're hoping to save probably about $25,000 more or more greater than that by the end of the fiscal year. So even though those are all small things, you know, it's 25,000 here, 50,000 here, you know, except the SAC, it all adds up. So, you know, and I have to congratulate the staff. They're all coming up with good ideas. We're looking at every place that we can cut. The public works people came up with a great idea, and that is that we got a computerized system that is actually going to watch one of our, it's Juan in Public Works. He's going to be looking at running the wells at nighttime, so it's the lowest, cheapest electricity that we have, rather than running it all the day. So they're doing a test right now, and that should save us a lot of money in the future. And even if we're doing it during the summer, we can still pump as much as we can at the low heat time, because, you know, Edison's bill is good.
Time use, right?
Yes.
Yep. So, and we're still looking at CNG here as a CNG filling station, still looking at wind, and still looking at solar. I have some people looking at the solar because basically we need to expand. Did I mention the tertiary water yet? The tertiary water. As you know, we went to Willamette and we got the first order of business. We got that permit from them. It then went to the State Water Resources Board, and it's going through a Title 22 approval. There were a couple of little glitches, and they're minor. We got a list and comments from them, or basically more clerical and informational, like this is on page 2, and you say it's on the end of the, in the appendix, or this isn't worded right, or you're missing this document, things like that. And then when it comes to the end users, how we're really getting the end users down. And so every time we have a new end user, we have to go back to the state and go through a long process of saying, because they want to make sure there's no cross-contamination. So you need an engineering plan of where you're going to do it. They come out, actually test the pipes. I've checked with other agencies, and this is standard throughout the industry for this. We have a number of end users, but only like one of them is really ready to go, and that's Glendower Park. So we're like right there. So what we decided, so it doesn't delay it, so we can turn on the tertiary water as soon as we can, that we get that part done in the Title 22. We have everybody else listed, and we continue to work on that, but that's the only ones that are going to be done in the Title 22. So that way they can approve it. And Jesse Dowweller said up in the state, he said if GEI gets that stuff done, as soon as they get it back to him, it should be maybe about 3 weeks until we can get our letter of applicability from Lahan. So I'm hoping, beginning of February, mid-February, something like that, we should be able to, with the other construction that we have to do on Glendower Park, that we'll be able to go forward. And then we're continually working on the CIP to get it extended to Williford Park, to the schools, and United and those. So it should be pretty good. And then, as you all know, we're looking at possibly, we have our waste treatment plant and the things that we have to do for the state. There's a lot of stuff we have to do for the state. And so one of the ideas is that, you guys have brought up before too, is maybe farm some of the land, with a farmer down there, and get rid of our secondary water, because secondary water has a lot of nitrates in it. And so alfalfa is a deep-rooted plant that sucks up nitrates, and that might be, as I think Director Glennon and Director Lansgard and Director McKay were there when we met with GEI and the state, and that was one of the options that we could probably do instead of relining the ponds, which is going to cost us a lot of money. So those are the updates, and things are looking good.
Have we looked into talking to any of the farmers about using our secondary treated water out there, coming in, pumping it into a tank and taking it out, and see what the cost would be versus what they're paying to pull it out of the ground?
No, I haven't looked at that. Basically, I'm looking at the property that we have south to us, because if I give it to them someplace else, we can do that too. But this is just right there. So it's, and then it could be a partnership, because we can almost give them the water free because we got to get rid of it, and maybe we take a percentage on the lease of the land, or we take a percentage of the farm, and so that's when I was on the board for the Sanitation District 14. That's where we did get rid of some of our effluent also, and they're still farming out there, as you know, on the east side. So, any other questions, Warren?
Okay, thank you.
The Public Works Department, since our last meeting, they repaired 6 service lines, also repaired 6 angle stops. They delivered 408 late notices, which resulted in 42 lockoffs. They're reading the meters right now, and for December so far, we've done 121 work orders. They continue to work on the final inspections for the turf rebate program, and hopefully that should be all done in February. Finished up the septic receiving station at the wastewater treatment plant, working concrete, that's turnkey ready to go. They also did some routine sewer cleaning and valve exercising in the last couple of weeks. That's all I have.
John, when we were over at the Aqua conference, one of the presentations that I went to, they were talking about Southern California Edison, moving the prime time to 9 p.m. So you can, might be start to look at that so you don't get hit with it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when they're starting that, but what I've been doing is I've been contacted we have a rep with the CE that takes care of our account. And she said right now until January, we need to run 6 to 6 for our best rate.
Yeah, they're gonna start charging home this time of year too. You know, a week ago Sunday, I called in and phone transferred to John Saunders. But there was water running down B Street, all the way down B, all the way down Poplar, and over the freeway. What's that, did you hear what that was?
I didn't hear, did you hear, bro?
No, I didn't hear anything about it.
I think it was Jones's garage sprinkler and running all the way.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Steve Saunders, but is there any way we can figure out how much electricity we actually use and how much we'd have to energy we'd have to produce to become energy independent?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not our goal.
It's one of the things we're working on. You know, I'm going through TEMS first, which is the company that, I think it's TEMS, the solar company. AES. One of those little acronym letter things, right? And I've been talking to them and I told them, I said, basically, I want this place to run completely on solar. I mean, we're only having a little bit. I'd like our pumps to run solar, and I'd like the waste treatment plant to run on solar. So the question was before, did Edison have enough transmission lines back then? I think they beefed them up because of all the solar going on. So I'm having them look at it again to see if we can, you know, because we have property. So
Mr. McCabe at the conference had figured out, and I talked to one high school graduate Tom Nike actually, or a year after, a couple years after. No, which is Santa Barbara for SCE. He was saying that, yeah, the Victorville sewage plant, 93% powered by its own methane gas.
Yes, and that's definitely possible, but that Victorville's treatment plant is a different treatment facility than what we have. We have a biomass system. Theirs produces methane, and they capture the methane and use it for energy. In order for us to do that, we'd have to have a complete new plant built.
but I
Two
am.
different types of systems.
Right, I am having Mike look into it. He's called Victorville, he's already had a couple phone calls with them, and he's looking to see if they have something different than a anaerobic system. Okay, because the anaerobic system is where you go without oxygen. We have an aerobic system. You put it out there, it bubbles, the bacteria lives on air. Their bacteria, it's closed, it lives on methane and produces methane and lives without, and still does the same, you know, biodegrading. And so that's why it's two different systems that's where you get methane. Like John said, we have to build a whole new sanitation plant to get the methane, unless they figured out another way with some kind of special tank or something, and we're checking out, but we haven't gotten any answers.
Okay.
If you double the size of our plant, would that be the time to look at that, or if you double the
No.
size of the plant, we keep the same system?
You have to build a whole new plant.
Okay. And our plant is set up to be doubled at some time in the future, is that right?
Correct.
Because everything was stubbed out to do an additional 500,000 gallons. Everything that's plumbed there has a stub out to duplicate it right next door to it.
Okay.
Yeah, that rate from 10 to 6 is a lot cheaper than here in the daytime, right, electrical rate.
Yes, it is. And I don't have it, I have it back in my
Well, I
office.
think they have
That's
3
what it is.
different schedules.
But I'm hoping to see a half would be, you know, what I'm looking to see. Half the cost of what it normally costs us because we're not running in that high use period.
Let me throw this question out to both of you. I don't know which one to direct it to. Are we
Rob.
looking? Are we looking at the present time in expanding the waste treatment plant? Are we looking forward to doing that?
It's all in our plan, you know, as Olaf was saying about our master plans and what we're looking at in order to, you know, take care of the future water needs and everything. And so John and I and Brock have both talked about it. I think we're looking, what, maybe 3 point something million to build it all out, because even though some of the infrastructure with the pipes and stuff were put in there, it's missing the expensive stuff, you know, the UV lights. And I mean, John was talking about replacing, we're gonna have to replace some of the UV lights, and that price tag is about almost $25,000 to yeah, $25,000 to replace the lights. So we are looking at it. We'll come back with a
What are
You
they
know, an
gonna
action
replace-
plan for you? What's
What are
that?
they gonna replace the UV lights with?
UV lights?
They have a expiration period where they no longer produce the amount of the
Oh, okay.
amount of light. And there's 48 of those light bulbs in there, and for 48 of them, the price, the quote was $25,000 to replace them. But that's not just the light, they also have a crystal shield that goes around the light to keep the light preserved. And so, that's the, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, but one of the things we found out when we went and visited St. George back in the 1990s, that UV light kills everything in the water. The
Yeah.
water that they were pumping out of their treatment plant was cleaner than the river water that they were pumping it into.
Absolutely.
So,
Are we saving quite a bit of money, John, with the solar here?
I haven't done a full analysis on it, but I know when I did it for the first couple of months, you know, we were definitely seeing a savings on it. I haven't done a whole annual year on it.
And all our bulbs and everything, they're LEDs, right?
Also, one bit of information for you, we have one of our CIP projects, which is the recoating of tank 4. We put that out to bid, it's on our website, and the bids will be going until January, bid closing is January 28th. And at that time, we'll award the contract to reline the inside of tank 4.
Which one's tank 4?
The one on United Street.
Recoating, is that what you did in January of last year, up on the hill there, or is that, what were you doing on that?
No, that was just a cleaning. So the last time, when was 2007, I believe, was the last time we actually recoated. When we go in every year to a different tank and do maintenance on them. But this one, so the last time it was done was 5 years ago. And at that time, we determined the next time we open it up, it needs to be sandblasted and recoated. The epoxy is chipping off in certain spots, and the floor's getting some bad rust spots in it, so it needs to be done.
any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Allen. Finance Director update. Mr. Ruckman.
I can keep it short and sweet. Thank you, President McKay and Board of Directors. Ron kind of stole some of my thunder in terms of all the savings we've been doing, but I like to make it.
Now, we want to hear the official.
I just made that stuff up. What are you talking about? That's what I've been told.
But, you know, he's right in saying that staff has been coming up with some really great ideas in terms of saving money. So right now, finance is working with those savings, seeing how they're going to affect the budget. We're going to prepare a mid-year budget adjustment, come back and present that probably the first meeting in February after we've gotten some good clean numbers for December, closed out in early to mid-January. Part of that process then, now that we have good clean audited numbers and everything's up to date, we've gotten kind of things on cruise control from a monthly basis. We're looking more at long-term planning for the district, cash needs for infrastructure growth, contingencies, spur of the moment, water purchase opportunities to make sure that we have enough cash on hand should something come available that we can jump on. So we've been having those conversations. John mentioned, or excuse me, Brock mentioned the turf replacement came through for AVAC. We did get the $5,000 application, a little bit more than that, but for matching funds, so we've I've worked with Brock to put in place a tracking program. The AVAC and the state requires that we report to them how much we're saving based on that particular recipient of the matching funds and the grant funds. So we put in place a tracking system once we begin to distribute those funds. As long as the customer has an account with Rosamond Community Services District, we'll be able to track the effectiveness of them pulling out their landscape and the effectiveness of that money that will be reported and the mandated savings reporting. So a lot of really good forward strategic financial movement forward. Looking forward to seeing what the budget comes in at once we clean it up and now the audit's over. Clean opinion, as you know, for Mr. Shea at our last meeting. We're really moving forward.
I'd like to add one more thing, Mr. McKay, is I have to really thank my staff for really working hard at all of this. I've given marching orders to every single person. And now I don't care if they're out there in public works and checking a meter, or if they're up here at the front counter taking a bill. If you can think of a way to save money or work more efficiently, because if we work more efficiently, it's going to save resources and ultimately save us money. And so everybody's been tasked to working together for this. And I have to congratulate Brad. He's a great finance director and comes up with other streamlining things all the time, a good asset, and so everybody's working on trying to save the ratepayers money.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Board clerk update. Okay. Brings us to adjournment. I will now take a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? Mr. Shanoah, motions. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Wallace, second. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming.